why open source is a game changer. Mainly, there are two types of software available. One is proprietary, another is open source. So let me just try to give simple explanation like what are these things. Open source means whatever the code one software is running, it is available for anybody to use and they can see it, they can do whatever they want to do in it. Proprietary softwares are the softwares which is usually owned by one company or individual, and that person owns right to that software and nobody else without his or her authorization or even company's authorization, they cannot see the code. And of course if they cannot see the code, then there is no point of editing it or even changing anything in it. So they are like brief introduction about open source and proprietary software. Now you might ask, why open source is a game changer when there are proprietary softwares? Usually proprietary softwares are made for earning money by selling it so that other people will pay for using it and nobody else can see the code inside it. So of course they won't be able to make a copy of it so that they can sell or like do anything with it. And even you cannot share it with other people because it's proprietary, meaning if you can't see the code, then of course you won't be able to share that particular thing. So now the problem with proprietary softwares are whenever you are eating something, then of course you need to know what and all content are inside it. You might be allergic to something, or you might not like something like meat or some other things if you are veg or vegan. That time the problem with somebody serving you some food is you need to know what they are using in order to make that particular food. Same goes with software also. Whenever you are using some kind of software inside your laptop or computer, that time of course you need to know what kind of software it is actually running and what does it actually doing in your system. Probably there are so many software which if you download, then most of them are like proprietary and you have no idea how much data they collect and they are sending it to their parent company so that they'll be able to sell your data and make money. So many companies do that. For example, Windows and Mac OS takes lots of our data whenever we are using and they use it for showing us advertisement or selling us some other product which we might be interested in. So other than that, whenever you are using Windows or Mac or any other proprietary software, the limited option of customization, make sure that whatever the company wants from you, they are only available for you to customize. For example, if you want to change how does Windows home screen looks like in your laptop, there are so many less customization available in order to make sure for you to make it look like however the way you want it to look like. Whatever the Microsoft wants you to customize, they'll give it, but if you want some kind of extra customization, there is no way you can do it. That comes us to the point that why open source is amazing or even game changer. What's the benefit of open source? First of all, usually and most of the time open source softwares are absolutely free of cost and you don't have to pay any kind of money in order to use it for your personal project or even paid commercial project if you are developing something and selling it. That's why open source softwares are one of the best thing happened to this particular world, because without using open source software, I think not many devices would have gotten popularity. For example, maybe Android phones or something like that, they wouldn't have been so much popular, and without paying these big companies in order to purchase the proprietary software, lots of people wouldn't have even been introduced to this particular technological revolution without open source software. So other than the free of cost, open source software also makes sure it's privacy friendly, meaning you can literally dig into code of open source software that makes sure that whatever the customization or whatever the privacy related issue you might be facing, everything is addressed. Meaning if you don't want it to do certain things, you can literally download the code online and you can edit it, or you can even tell somebody to edit it, and you can can make sure it works fine in your system as per your requirement. Also, if you don't know how to code, then of course open source software are driven by community. There are so many options available in order to make sure whatever the feature you are requesting is available. And if you fund it, of course there will be greater opportunity for that open source software to make sure whatever the feature you are requested is available for everybody to use free of cost. And another thing is majority of these proprietary softwares are there, right? They also use lots of open source libraries in order to make sure that particular software works. All these Node.js repositories are there, right? When if you're a Node.js developer, you would know all these are like open source and all the codes are available free of cost, and you might be even using it for your commercial project, and nobody is going to come and ask the money for it, and you will be earning lots of money using whatever the website you have built. So that's why these open source softwares are one of the best thing happened to this particular world. And of course Linux is one of the amazing thing that open source software provided us. Back in old days there used to be very less option in order to run your computer, either it will be Mac or Windows, but with Linux anybody with any kind of device can install Linux in it, and they can get that amazing experience, that also free of cost in their computer. That's also one of the open source software. So now the question comes is which one to use? Like, should you go all in on open source software, or should you think like open source softwares are garbage, I'll just pay the company, I don't mind about the data? I feel like it's the mixture of everything that makes this particular world fine. If everything is proprietary software, then of course you have to pay for everything, and there won't be any kind of free of cost software. Whatever the company asks, that we have to pay them in order to use it. And as well, if everything is open sourced, then I feel like it's good thing, because whatever the contribution these open source companies receive, they'll be able to use it for building amazing things. But just open source software community is not that much great until and unless one proprietary software or a bigger company funds it for those software developers in order to build it. And these big companies or big corporations are big because they sell proprietary software. Without selling the proprietary software, they won't be able to earn money. If they are not earning the money, then they won't support open source foundation. For example, React is backed by Facebook, and if Facebook is not making money, then of course React development will be very weak. I'm talking about the React framework. And there are so many other such things. For example, Linux is funded by even Microsoft and all the other big corporations, so that they will run their cloud platforms. That's why Linux is amazing, and its development is going amazingly. Of course, Linux developers who built core operating system won't maintain Linux for free of cost, and all the contribution which they receive is probably not that much great from individuals. That's why these big companies or corporations are the amazing source for them to get contributed, and they'll in turn help open source community to grow. So that's why it's all about which case is suitable for you. That's the best option for you to pick whether to use open source or even proprietary software. Whatever the work which you are doing, if it requires proprietary software, then go for it and use it. But if there is chance of using some kind of free tool or even open source tool which will be used for building or making sure that particular project is working fine, then of course go ahead and use that particular free of cost tool and open source tool, because it's so good to use it. So with that note, I'll just end this video. And if you like this kind of videos, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like this video. See you in the next video. Bye bye.